can't do both. Okay. Okay, part 3. Just as the sun was setting, they found a good place to hide the truck. They removed their gear and covered the truck with some camouflage netting and fallen tree branches, blah, blah, blah. The men put on their packs and struck out for the ranch house. They were about 3 miles away. Okay, whatever. I got 2 of them going at the same time. But there's no way to have them both look halfway decent. Oh, whatever. Oh, sorry. Tired, blah, blah, blah. Distracted. A lot of things going on. They were about 3 miles away. Manny took the lead with Ralph behind him and Mark bringing up the rear. They moved silently and spaced apart as Gunny had drilled into them until it was second nature. Mark looked at the 2 men in front of him and marveled at the change in them. Manny was thin and wiry. The soft pudge around his middle was gone. Ralph was no longer a lumbering bear. Now he was a tiger. He was still huge, but now he moved with an effortless stealth that defied his mass. Mark wondered if he'd changed too. Physically, he hadn't changed much, but he had changed on the inside, he realized. He remembered his first shootout with the MZBs who chased them in the truck and how sick he was after he had killed some of them. Saturday night, he'd killed multiple attackers. He didn't remember exactly how many, and had felt nothing but relief when they had fallen. He questioned if that was a change for the better or not. Sooner than he expected, they were in sight of the house. There were no lights or signs of activity, but the team carefully found a place to watch from and set up their rotations. Mark's watch wasn't until 4 in the morning, so he ate and sacked out. When Ralph woke him for his shift, the big lawyer reported that nothing had happened. Mark crawled up to the lookout point and stared at the old white wooden house in the pale moonlight. Nothing moved. Once the sun came up, the only signs of life were a few chickens scratching in the dirt and a squirrel that ran back and forth across the rusty tin roof. A few vehicles were in front, but none of them appeared roadworthy. In its day, the very large house must have been a hub of activity. Now it was just an empty hull. Mark wondered if anyone had been living there when the burst came. He hoped not, as he couldn't imagine what the MZBs would have done to an unprepared family. He speculated as to whether the gang would come back or not. He tried to put himself in their shoes to get some inkling of their philosophy, hoping it would give him some insight. It was impossible, though. His values and beliefs prevented him from seeing things as the hell spawn did. Mark spent time thinking about the election. One minute he was sure Rob would win, and the next he convinced himself Barney was going to be the victor. Mark was driving himself crazy and pushed the voting from his mind. He thought of his family and the neighborhood, how far they'd come in a short time, and the twists of fate that had brought them here. If he'd gotten his way, they would have gone to Mr. Davis's ranch and been dead, or maybe worse in Jess and Sam's case. Without Gunny, who knows where they'd be, he thought. Everyone had pulled together. Silver Hills had become more than a community. They were a family. Finally, on the 3rd morning, no one had shown up. Mark considered checking out the house and buildings, but thought better of altering Gunny's plan. The men trekked out and drove home. As soon as they drove through the gate, Mark stopped to check on his brother.